think it's one of the best things that ever happened to me. I didn't know it. My auntie, like my writing was really autobiographical. It's about myself a lot of times. You know, sometimes people, they'll tell me stories and they say, you should write this, you're a writer, aren't you? You should write this story. I'm like, are you kidding? I got enough stories to tell, you know, from my own world, which is, you know, how we're taught, because we're taught that you tell about yourself. And that's how I was taught. And they teach you from gossiping. If you're somewhere, then you talk about yourself. So that's how I ended up. Never knew that would happen, but I'm still doing it, and I love it. You know, it's something that I love, and I guess if you're here as business people, as entrepreneurs, and can I just say something that I told someone here earlier? What's her name's name?
Oh, Alani Sobamsuan.
Alani Sobamsuan. She's a Mohawk filmmaker, and she's in her 80s, isn't it?
Yeah.
She's been making films since she was a young woman, and she's only made one film about a non-native, and that's about him. And I seen this film a few years ago, and because I went to the library, you can get like films are in the library, and I watched this film about you. And then suddenly last year I met you. And Professor, I call him Monsieur le Professor, was fired from McGill University and never told why, ever, to this day. And the suspicion is because it's the way that we teach. I figure it has to be about money, but because in the white world it always is. But maybe some funders didn't want you teaching anymore. That's what I mean. So the fact that you're here and doing what you're doing now is probably what you're meant to be doing.
I call this reality-based education. And since we're in dialogue, remember folks, the only wrong question is the unasked question. What would you like to ask Ms. Sharon Prue-Turner?
I think you gave some hints along the way because everybody in here, I shouldn't speak for everybody, but for myself, like I think nature and beauty, that's what caught my eye. Somewhere that experience this and that, and you don't just think of something, it's there, you must have experienced something where it's like tattooed in your mind or whatever, it's there, like you went through a lot. That's just my personal thinking, just to get the ball rolling.
And I think that what she's bringing up applies directly to what you're doing. We can either see our lived experience as a liability that it's going to drag us down, or we can turn that into an asset through creativity and make the best of it. And actually, by giving voice to what we've lived, we can morph into someone we never dreamed of. And we can do what we did not think possible. So we're faced with this challenge. You know, life is a two-edged sword. Is this a liability or is this an asset? And she's just said how tough it was, but in the end, it made her who she is and the writer that she has become. Well, here's the same piece of writing and another member of the seminar. I also incidentally asked them to do a tweet on each piece of the writing. A tweet about the piece of writing.
I've never tweeted.
Well, here's another member of the seminar. One word, symbolic. One sentence, using nature in a symbolic context to describe emotions and thoughts. One paragraph, in using nature to describe her thoughts and feelings, she is able to make a visual connection with her readers, to get a grasp of what she is saying. Her metaphors on nature and seasons blend her emotion and depth of what is being told so that it speaks to the reader. Stream of consciousness. The writing makes me feel like I'm having an overhead or bird's eye view of what I'm reading, so I can see what she wrote instead of just reading it. I'm actually there, living, breathing this story, which is quite weird and awesome at the same time. Like the feeling of flying or floating above one's conscious thought and getting caught in a vortex of swirling thoughts and emotions that can take you and decipher what the message that is prominent in your mind. Tweet, here's their tweet on your piece of writing. I'm as happy as can be as how I could read this free-flying and creative as my mind is to wonder in self-thought and expression. The title, their title for this piece of writing, Fly When You're Awake. This is the feeling I get from reading it. Although I know this is my own interpretation of the story, it's the name I give to it. My definition, my portrait of whoever wrote these words, I feel that the people that wrote these words are from the east coast of Canada, are male and female of some Aboriginal descent. I feel that they are an artist and come from a community where poverty and family dysfunction is a common problem. I feel that they are active in the community and they have a compassion to let the world know their heart's desire and the empathy they feel. How would you respond to that, Ms. Prue-Turner?
Cool. That's a really powerful statement. Isn't it amazing though how like stream of consciousness just brings stuff out? It's amazing. There's a lot there. There's a lot to comment on.
Take your choice, and we'll run with it. And you can also challenge the person who wrote it if they want to identify themselves, but that's up to them.
Oh, okay, if they want to identify that. I'm like, why would I want to challenge that? You did. It's amazing. You know what? And even the depth of your what you see, like the depth of your own empathy, that's what you demonstrate there to me, is the depth of your own empathy. And also the way that you, and I, you know, it's not very many readers actually take the time to, I guess you could say, make a portrait of the author, you know what I mean? And as more than just a photograph or just a name. And you, like, I cannot tell you how bang on you are in your interpretation. So, like, I could just, everything that you wrote, I could just say, and blah, 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 and, you know, each thing that you wrote there. So, just thank you for being such a careful reader.
Well, that's what I took out of it when I read it. In the first sentence there, when I read it, that's what it gave me, was a bird's eye view of everything you're saying. And just, it's weird that you had titled that View a window of a plane.
Yes, exactly, because you didn't know that. Hey, I'm looking out the window of a plane, and I was really sitting on the plane, and I had a dream, and I didn't remember the dream, but I woke myself up because I was laughing out loud. Not the thing to do when you're sitting on a plane. And but I grew up in the Ottawa Valley, which is in Ontario. It's a huge river that flows out into the St. Lawrence Seaway. And my family's from all down there, the coast of Quebec there, and then into Ontario and up the Ottawa River. And it's where I grew up, the river, the Ottawa River, was so wide that it looks like a lake.
Oh, yeah.
And I did not know that that wasn't just not an ordinary river. So when I moved to Alberta, I'm asking around, so where's the rivers around here? People are like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, there's a stream over there, but I haven't seen no rivers yet. And they're like, that's a river. It's the Bow River. So like really, you couldn't even really see the land on the other side. It's just like fuzzy, blue stuff. And it's a powerful body of water. And it's forested. So I kind of grew up in the bush. I'd never been in a restaurant until I was 19. And so then when I moved to Alberta, where I live now in the Calgary area, I live in Calgary, and I'm part Algonquin, which is Blackfoot. The Blackfoots are Algonquin. They migrate in there, and so the land is so different. I can't even imagine how the people migrated there and then made that land their land.
They had no choice.
They could have went further. They had choices. They could have went back. They chose to stay there and become like Algonquins are farming people, but the Blackfoot people aren't farming people. So they changed everything about themselves and became buffalo people and had that whole identity around the buffalo. And so it just shows how resilient our people are. And when I was flying over and I was and looking down like that, because I've been doing a lot of flying since I've been writing, and I never flew before, right? I have this theory that when you're flying,
My name is John.
but I have this theory, when you're flying, you're going real fast, going like 500 miles an hour or something. You know how in Star Trek they say, if you go at the speed of time, you never age. So I have this theory that flying, you should live longer. But I never knew that I would end up, not flying. But it's really, being way up there is something you see so much. So thank you.
Well, there's a few principles for entrepreneurship that come out here. And he just told you his first name. He didn't tell you his last name. His last name is Saddleback. Make sure you never say saddlebags. And two principles here for entrepreneurship. First is, folks, trust yourselves. I've just read two different people in Change It Up, both who have written in a way that has impacted the poet, the author, the writer of these words. And this is all done intuitively. This is done on the spot. They're going with their gut. Folks, trust yourselves. Have confidence in yourselves. Because it works. You're right.
I mean, we're born to trust ourselves, right? Immediately. But then we learn not to. So it's relearning. Boy, I'd trust myself if I was you too.
Have any
I
of
bet
you,
to all the rest of you too.
well, hopefully we're gonna get to, oh, yeah, pardon me, good idea.
Can't see Mr. Saddleback.
Any of you ever see a film called Dead Poets Society?
Yeah.
Who's seen it? Well, you know at the beginning of the film, The Dead Poets Society, there's this guy who's scared stiff. Now the actor's name is Ethan Hawke. I love his last name. I wish I had a name like that. And he is so scared. There's an expression that one uses in English, but I won't use it. It begins with S and ends with S. And the teacher tells him, okay, come on up front here, like these game shows, come on down. He has him come on down, and he's scared to death to read his poem. And because of the fear factor, the teacher tells him, just close your eyes and just let it flow out of your mouth. Do you remember that scene? And he's going round and round and he's just speaking. And everybody can't believe what's coming out of his mouth. Spontaneously, instantly, just out of his gut like that. And they are stunned. And then the teacher looks at him straight in the eye. When everybody realizes the riches that this person had inside and had never said because they were always too scared, too silent, says, don't you ever forget it. That moment when they discovered the abilities they had. That's what I would say to you. Don't you ever forget what you've written, because you've got it. Now, the only wrong question is the unasked question, and our time will go very fast today, folks. Who would like to ask a question? You've got the writer here.
I have a question.
Yes, come here, Ms. Rattlesnake.
Sorry, I'm getting restless.
Okay, that's fine.
I have a question for you. Do you ever iron poetry too? And I realized that at first I started writing it because I liked it. Like the way it sounds and the way it's worded and the way it makes the reader and yourself feel. But has that ever, and then I started writing about what I couldn't say. Has it ever happened to you? Like you're trying to find the right words to say, but when you come on, you got all jumbled kind of? And it's kind of like confusing, you know? Does that happen to you?
Yes.
That was all.
So then what do you do after that when it comes out confused?
I read it over. It makes sense to me, but actually sometimes it doesn't make sense to me. And I get someone else to read it, or I read it to someone else, so they understand. And I think that's crazy about the power of words.
Yeah.
A circle is inclusive, and we have a member of the seminar who's not in the circle. Please bring your chair, Ms. Twins. Join the circle. We want to include you. So we created a space for you here, Ms. Twins. We're just waiting for you. Well, here's the same piece of writing, another member of the seminar. Their tweet about what you wrote. Tweet. I feel like a melody floating in the current of a breeze. If I allow myself to trust my gut instinct, I won't be led astray. Their title, Being the Nature Walk. I am one with grandmother, moon, and mother, earth. Now they invented a word, which I'm going to show to you. Trachenery. And trachenery means talking directly to nature. Incidentally, language is an invention of human beings, so it's perfectly valid to invent your own words and their meaning. And then the portrait of who wrote this, having never met you, or not knowing your name or anything. Portrait of whoever wrote all these words. Female, Métis, long, beautiful hair, usually braided, talks to herself a lot. Analytical, reflective, listens to her gut instinct, is one with nature, has an affinity for Mother Earth, natural, thinks outside the box, hidden pain, smiles, even if it hurts, doesn't drink or abuse drugs, in parentheses, anymore, open-minded, accepting, empathetic, traditional, wears skirts and dresses, expresses her native heritage through dress, goes to ceremony, sweats, explores. So how would you respond to that?
Cool. That's the word of the day. That's so neat. So this person said completely different things about me, about the writer. Because, and you've asked people to write about the writer, right?
This, at the very end, after they had read so many of your poems, now I asked them to give me a mental picture, how they saw the writer. And I never said poet. I just said, whoever wrote these words, would you describe them?
And I think that's really a neat thing to do too, because it just reminds me of what, first of all, what you were saying about words coming out and you read them and you go, what the heck, right? And I had written this story recently for this league, and I don't usually write stories. And it's about Rougarou. You know Rougarou? Anybody know Rougarou? It's kind of like a werewolf. And Métis tell those stories, and a lot of the Northern Crees tell those stories. And so I had written this story, and in the last part, and I had given it to the woman, right? And then she got back to me and says, yeah, I want the story. So then I go in and I'm going to rewrite it again. And I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking, what the heck? Like, I was reading this woman accepted this, I don't even know what it says. But I guess she got something out of it, you know, which was really neat and interesting. But I guess what I was going to say was, usually, like that lady that I sent the story to, she actually asked me, she talked about the woman in the story as if it was me, right? And the woman in the story wasn't me. And, but what you've done is you've asked them to, actually asked them to write about me, not the, you know, like kind of like, which I find that really refreshing. But anyways, I also think that whoever this person is also really, really perceptive. Except I never was really into drugs and alcohol.
That's what Clinton said when he was president, too. Remember?
Yeah,
He smoked but never inhaled.
I smoked, but I inhaled. And but because there was so much alcoholism in my family, and so much violence. When I was 15, I just like made, you know, one of those 15-year-old moments of like, I am not going to be like my parents. I am not going to drink. I am not going to drug it. I am not going to be violent. And I didn't. And that's not to say that I've never had a drink in my life, but I never throw up after 2 years. So, but I never went that road. And I wasn't violent with my kids at all. And I think that it definitely made them have a better experience of their lives. Like, I'm not saying I'm a perfect parent, I'm nowhere near that, but I know I can see it in my kids, I can see it in my grandkids. They're different. They're happier. They have a better life. And also by making that decision for myself, it meant that so much guilt that I don't have to do it. And but you know, I got kind of long hair and it used to be really dark. And I was white by the time I was 30. Surprised that I could read. My little granddaughter, she says, hey, Nokum, she says, see that lady in that picture? So when I was young, holding the baby, her mom, she goes, that's you. No, that's you. Because I look so different, dark. Even when I look, I can't really see it. But yeah, there's just that this person said such different things, but they're also really perceptive things. And I guess it kind of shows how each of us like views the world in our own way, from our own place, and we're all right. We're all right. There's no wrong. And I think that when you actually allow yourself to, like really allow yourself to, I guess this is like speaking from your heart. When you really allow yourself to do that, then the truth is right there. You know how they tell us the answers are all inside? They could just show us the answers are all inside.
Well, one of the writers that I've had the privilege of working with was a guest and came in just like we're doing right now. And she said something I will never forget about what creativity is. And we've been talking about creativity all last week. Creativity, 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 and what role will it play in business and entrepreneurship? And I invite you to think about what this writer said, their definition of creativity. Creativity is finding out what you know, but you don't know that you know it. And what we do here is we take the time to find out what we know, but we don't know we know it until we reflect on it. Something else has come out. You might have noticed empathy, empathetic. Now that may sound very psychological and therapeutic, but it's also a business principle, folks. If you're going to make it in your business and your entrepreneurship, you've got to project empathy. You've got to be able to put yourself into your customers' shoes, moccasins, boots. You've got to be able to see what's important to them in them. And that's what you've been doing here. And I really encourage you to, when you go into your businesses, to project empathy. Part of it is by listening very well, but letting them know that you're aware of what matters to them, and you're seeking to meet those, what psychologists call, felt needs. Marketing, folks, is all about psychology. Meeting felt needs. That's where empathy comes in. Being able to put yourself in your customer's place. And that's what you did in your writing. Questions? The only wrong question is the unasked question. You're raising your hand. Go ahead.
Was it your intention, or did you intend for like the rooted sadness and dysfunction in your life to come on your work?
That's a very good question.
Or is it just something that happened along the lines when you were writing?
Yeah, I think it's a really hard question to answer because it's not intentional, but it's there, right? It's like you read that, you saw that when you were reading. And like if I was to say I had a vision, it would be something better for, you know, all our little people. And, I mean, something really good, you know. And, in order to get there, we gotta really, like, we have to talk. We have to, like, spit out all the stuff that's happening to us for 500